Welcome to Around the Board, a show where four board game enthusiasts discuss board game topics and news. In today's show, we kick things off with everybody's favorite game, Play, Shelf, Trade. Believe It or Not follows, after which Wonderland's War finds itself on the flip side of the gavel in a segment of Hot or Not. Lastly, we'll deliberate the topic of player interaction in games. Here are your hosts, Daniel Connors, John Theismann, Chris Thomason, and the man of the hour, the Mad Hatter himself, Andy Barnett. Now join us around the board.
Wow,
hey
thanks for that, Andy.
Yeah. Did we miss a memo about dressing up, Andy?
You sure did, you jerks. Before we left our planning meeting, the plan was, I said, I've got a Mad Hatter outfit. I can do that. And then they were like, I'll find bunny ears and cat ears. And Chris, you were going to be in a blue dress. I'm really disappointed in that.
Yeah, I forgot at the cleaners. It was, man, I'm real beat up about it.
But you know what? We're glad you went through with it because this is great. I'm glad no one gets to miss that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, you can always count on me to be the fool.
There we go.
And speaking of fools, I think John has something to ask us.
Wow. That wasn't very nice at all.
No. I wasn't calling you the fool.
I was. I'm in agreement.
Okay, this topic. I got you.
Yeah.
Well, this is more, Andy, this is more aimed at Daniel and Chris because this is the topic is Dungeons and Dragons. And before people quit watching, those of us that don't play it, aren't really into the Dungeons and Dragons, you still have a passing knowledge. If you've watched an episode of Stranger Things, you have a passing knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons. That's all we're really going to hit on here is how this affects people that are into Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway.
Don't they fight like the Gungan or something?
Yes, they fight Gungam style. They have to make Gungam saves.
No, seriously, isn't that like the
Demogorgon?
What is it?
Demogorgon.
I thought it was like the Gungan or the Gorgonzola.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Wow. Yeah, you're way off.
Okay.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Okay, Andy, be quiet. Anyway, Dungeons and Dragons, if you don't know, has been acquired by Hasbro Games, which that was the marriage that I'm sure everybody into Dungeons and Dragons was looking for, because Clue, Monopoly, there probably was a Monopoly in Dungeons and Dragons, and now they own Dungeons and Dragons.
Wait. Who has it, bro?
Andy, shut up. Anyway, to go along with this, they've come up with this thing. Well, I guess they've always had this thing called the Open Gaming License, which allows people, as you've seen in Stranger Things, where they create their own campaigns. I mean, this is 90% of what Dungeons and Dragons is people creating their own environment and participating in the Dungeons and Dragons that way. And well, now the way I understand it, Dungeons and Dragons is wanting to claim that as their intellectual property and charge you to make your own games. And are they cutting off their nose to spite their face? Chris, Daniel, what do you think about this whole open game license controversy going on with D&D? Quickly, how's it going to affect it?
I'll let you go first, Daniel.
Okay, well, yeah, it's not that specific. You can still make your own games and all that stuff. It's just after third edition came out, one of the really cool things about it is they were like, hey, now you can make content for this game and we're not going to go after you for it. So most famously, what came out of it was Pathfinder. When Dungeons and Dragons went to fourth edition, Pathfinder was like, okay, well, we'll keep third edition alive. So the entire companies have been built around this framework. You got Pathfinder, Paizo, whatever, and then you got like things like Critical Role, who like is like just playing Dungeons and Dragons on camera and making a bunch of money, and then and then you have a bunch of other ones that are smaller companies, but fully exist on the fact that these people will pay that they're allowed to make stuff for D&D, and now D&D is like, oh yeah, that stuff is going to go away. So Paizo, sorry, you're going to go bankrupt. Critical Role, you might owe us a couple $1 trillion. No big deal though. And the community is like, no, wait a second. wait a second. And I don't think that I don't know how they would have the right to revoke it at this point, because isn't there something about like, if somebody takes something and you don't protect your copyright on it for so long, all of a sudden you don't have a right to reclaim that copyright. Yeah. And I can't imagine Dungeons and Dragons is any legal standing, or Hasbro is any legal standing to say, no, we're going to take Critical Role and Paizo and take
Piazzo.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's ironic, and I think with the massive popularity of Dungeons and Dragons right now, it's just shocking
Mhm.
that Hasbro would go after it like this. It's like, obviously the system's been working and this game is more popular than it ever has been in all of its existence. So what do? You stop it.
Yeah.
So I
All right,
know nothing.
Let's hear from Chris. Chris, what you got?
Okay,
That's all I had to
so
say.
a couple things that's ironic about all this. First of all, the game was originally created by Gary Gygax and some other people, Dave Arneson. That doesn't really matter. But the initial publication of the game was with a company called TSR, which was accompanied by Gygax and others. And again, originally when the game came out, they were like, "Hey, just play it, have fun, awesome. We're not, we made the rules. We're not going to make these modules or stories and stuff like that. You figure it out yourself." And they're like, "Oh wait, we can make a lot of money with it." So then they started like sending cease and desist orders to everyone and going crazy, being really money hungry and crazy. Eventually, they overextend their skis, so to speak, and get over their skis and fall in financial ruin. And they are acquired by Wizard of the Coast, who at that point in the 90s with the made 3.0 and created the open game license that allowed people to kind of do what they wanted again and make products for them that were not from Wizard of the Coast, made from other companies, and let them make money. That went on for great. Everything was fine. And then Hasbro, I can't remember exactly when Hasbro acquired Wizards of the Coast, who also makes Magic, by the way, which is important in this moment. They acquired him and have had for a while. So my opinion on why this is happening is because Hasbro has forced Wizards of the Coast, in my opinion, to make some of the dumbest choices I have ever seen for Magic the Gathering in the last 18 months.
Yes.
They've made especially sets about the most stupid things in the world that no one could want. Like, I love me some Blood Bowl. They made Blood Bowl Wizard Magic cards, and that's just stupid. Nobody's wants those except for me. So
did they make Transformers too?
They've done so many things. They put one card. It was like a Rhinex card. That thing was trash. But anyways,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways, so I honestly, I think what they're doing, because it's just so out of the norm from what Wizards of the Coast has done with D&D in the last 5 years. I mean, they've been on like a record, just like unbelievable, never seen before, just printing money like we've never seen in gaming as a whole, outside of the video game. Like in the board game and tabletop sector, we've never seen anyone print money like Wizards of the Coast have / Hasbro in the last 5 years. So while they're doing here, I think they're just trying to recoup money from the losses that they've had with Magic in the last 18 months, because it's been stupid. But yeah, it's just, they've made a lot of people angry. I've fallen out of love with 5e last couple of years. I've started down a path of like learning more about the older school games and the OSR, Old School Renaissance, and one of which is a game right here called DCC RPG. Right there. I love it.
A lot of initials.
Special nice gold cover recently. If you're less into the aesthetic of demons and skulls and stuff, here's your normal book. But anyways, I love the game a lot. But yeah, no, back to on topic. I honestly don't know what's going on. I think it's insane, but I think they're just trying to recoup losses.
Yeah. So
it sounds like they're doing with Magic like they've done with Monopoly. It's like let's take everything we own and throw it at it.
Kind of is.
Yeah.
It's really been. It's just super weird.
Isn't there a Golden Girls set for Magic now too?
I mean, I don't know, but I know there was a My Little Pony. Like, I know that was a real thing.
Oh my god! Yep. Some other licenses.
So yeah.
Well, it sounds like they might actually kill this satanic game once and for all. Sounds like
there are a lot of '80s moms that are like, fine.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
What wasn't Black Lotus one of the names of the ponies?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How many daughters? Why do you know that?
You know what this all makes me think of is the fact that I think we've created a possible new role for the show.
Oh yeah.
And that is that I think we should consider bringing in, just like they have when you're watching a football game or a baseball game and they bring in a rules analyst.
Yes.
What if we had a tabletop legal analyst that would come in and explain things to us, like public domain, like you were asking about there, Daniel?
Yeah,
sure. I think Hansa could cover that pretty well.
He's a great field reporter.
I bet you Hansa would love it.
Hey, by the way,
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
it is indeed time to play the game. Around the Board is all about debating different topics within tabletop gaming in 4 unique segments, each hosted by one of us. A behind-the-scenes judge will award points at the end of the show. Whomever has the most points will get to obliviate?
Sure.
Opine? bloviate and obliviate
Destroy.
their opponents by talking about whatever the heck they want. So now let's play the game, and we'll start at the very beginning, as we always do.
Round 1. Fight!
All right. I love to start at the beginning of things. So let
That's
me
always
take
good.
over here.
A great place to
So-
start.
Yeah, I know it always is. Unless you're like Christopher Nolan, right? And then he likes to start from the back. But-
Or Tarantino.
Or yeah, there you go. So
Yeah,
there's a case to be made. But regardless, round 1 is about the favorite game of ours is play, shelf, and trade. And today I'm going to bring 3 games to the table that are Alice and Wonderland themed. One just kind of, but the other 2 definitely. So one of them is my favorite game, maybe of all time. No, not of all time, but it's definitely up there. And that is Unmatched. Unmatched is a 2-player, 2 to 4-player skirmish game. You each have a deck of cards. You're smacking down the cards. You're comparing attacks. You're comparing defenses. Boom. Whoever has the higher attack, wins. The defense takes damage. Last man standing wins. So Unmatched. Now there is one character in there from Alice in Wonderland, and that's Alice. So there you go. The second game is Paint the Roses. It is a tile laying game where you are cooperatively trying to control the whims of the queen, and you are playing like you kind of have a card that says like, this is my goal. My goal is to have red next to blues. Well, nobody else knows that that's my goal, so I'm trying to give them clues that that's my goal, while John is trying to get reds next to greens. So it's kind of this cooperative, like social deduction game that you're all trying to work together to do. And then last is Parade. Parade is a trick-taking game. I don't know the details on this one as much, but I know it's a very popular trick-taking game. And I think it's I'm not even going to try to describe it, but in the end, it's a Alice in Wonderland theme. So there you go. Play, shelf, trade is Unmatched, Parade, and Paint the Roses. And per our new rules, I guess we're going to start with the host starting giving their opinion. So I'm going to give you my opinions real quick. So as I already said,
He's ready for me.
What? Why am I getting booed already?
I don't know. It just felt like it.
He
All
thought,
right,
you were
right.
throwing it, he thought you were throwing it to me. That's all.
Just do it, baby.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna say on my shelf is Unmatched. That game is going nowhere. I love Unmatched. It's one of my favorite games. And while I would want to play it all the time, it has to be on my shelf. It's not gonna go anywhere. I don't need to play it anymore to know if I like it. So Unmatched is the number 1 for me. Then I think on the play, I probably would rather play Paint the Roses than Parade. I'm not a big fan of trick-taking games. The Crew being one exception to that. So Paint the Roses, it kind of sounds like Hanabi a little bit, where you're trying to figure out what everybody else has and how it all works together. Sounds kind of interesting. But the trade is going to be Parade. Get out of here, parade your way out. I don't need you in my life because trick-taking, I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
All right, but John, what about you? What's your play, shelf, trade?
Well, my play is going to be easy, and I have played the Alice version of Unmatched. Actually, I played against Alice. That's when I won this right here. My tournament championship was when I was the Invisible Man versus Alice, and that was a good time. That was a pretty cool matchup. But anytime you play Unmatched, it's amazing. And so Unmatched is my play. I always want to play Unmatched. I have new versions of it or new editions of it that I haven't gotten to the table yet. So that's got to be my play. Paint the Roses. I was unaware of this till Daniel suggested it. I went through and watched not a playthrough, but just a little bit of a background on the game. And yeah, it's like a deduction type game where you're trying to, like Daniel said, you're trying to figure out what cards everybody has. Well, this one, if it's an easy level, it's 2 colors next to each other. If it's this, that, or the other. If it's level 3, it could be multiples of the 2. And the part that really gets me is it's a logical deduction game, but you have to guess because you have to get it in a certain amount of time or else the queen's going to catch up to you or something like that. So you can't just wait till you have the information and say what it is. So it's always just basically, well, the odds are it's this, so I'm going to guess this. It just seems like you're always just going to go with the odds. Well, the odds are it's going to be this next to this. Oh, it's not right. Okay, well, I guess it must be that next to that, and the next person will guess. It really just does not look like a fun game at all. And besides that, it's co-op, so that means Andy and I are not going to like it. So that's my burn, trade, whatever. I'll probably trade it to Daniel for something good. And Parade is a fun game. I'll put it on the shelf because it's one you want to play every once in a while. Just it's a filler game. To be honest, I didn't even remember it was Alice in Wonderland themed. I played this game I don't know how many times, but that's a fun game. And if it's a trick taking game, get over it. It's a trick taking game in a different way. You know what I'm saying? You're not just playing hearts saying I'm gonna take 5 tricks and see what you take. It's a whole different kind of deal. And so you're trying to get majorities on different colors, because then they score less. You want to score as little points as possible. So it's a fun little game, and it'll make you crunch some numbers and have some fun playing that game.
So John, I would agree with you that it's a trick taking game. Get over it, whatever. But I'm telling you, man, if you are not into trick taking games, they are really hard to wrap your mind around. Like, I've been gaming for years and years and years, and you show me a new trick taking game, it blows my mind. Like, I can't understand. I can play 18xx. You show me a new trick taking game, and I'm like, what? Like, what's Trump? I don't understand. Is that the president? Like, I don't know these words you're saying. So I don't know. But yeah. But hey, John, not John? John just gave us his opinion. Chris, what about you? What do you think?
First of all, I think you can kind of play 18xx.
Whatever. Say that when I'm destroying you. I won our second game.
But back to on point here with our play shelf trade. So I'm going to start with the play. I am very intrigued by what Paint the Roses seems to be. I've not played this. I've seen it here and there. I've actually seen it in person. Our mutual friend Kelly showed me her copy the other day, and you know me, I'm not the art or component person, but what it had looked cool. It was nice. It seemed
a beautiful game.
Yeah, it was well done. So, hats off to that. Again, I'm not against it. It just only adds. It doesn't make a game. You can't play art. And then I'm going to play Parade. I don't like actual trick take, like spades is actually, I guess, okay, but I really don't like hearts and just the basic 52 card deck trick ticking type stuff. That's not for me. But if you're using it in addition to something else, like on Brian Baru, you're just using it for purposes of a catalyst for area control. That's super cool. I don't know if Parade's this way. It sounds like it's just a basic trick taking game, but being that, I don't know, it could still be interesting. So I'll at least give it a shelf. I'm intrigued to play it at some point. Unmatched. I one of the things it allowed me to do is something that I loved immensely, and it was fantastic. But the best interaction I ever had with this game was the fact that it awarded me 2 free drinks. Turn that off. John went for like 5 extra minutes. You cannot turn that on me. Only, Andy. That's not okay. Anyway, so because we were playing a team game and I played Deadpool, I played a card that said if I win, then the people have to the loser has to buy me a drink. So both Daniel and another guy named Philip had to buy me a drink, and that was awesome. But if that's the best thing a game is, that's not great. So it's fine. It's an okay game. I understand why those who like it, but it's just not for me. So I'm going to go ahead and trade Unmatched. And go ahead.
You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
The old Deadpool rule.
It was fantastic. I love that drink. It was great.
Well, so here's the deal, guys. First of all, if I'm going to play a skirmish game, I'm going to play Crokinole. Okay?
What? So you're going to play skee ball if you want some skirmish.
That's right. That's right. No, honestly, I've given Unmatched a lot of trouble over the years, and I have not given it its fair shot. So I will play Unmatched because I do need to give it a shot again. Daniel speaks highly of it. I'm going to be honest. Usually those 1v1 skirmish match games, I'm not a huge fan of, but I could maybe give it a shot again and see if I could get into that. I will play that. As far as what I'm putting on the shelf, I'm going to put Parade on the shelf, man. Absolutely. Parade is a fantastic game. It's been a while since I played it. And, you guys keep describing it as a trick-taking game. And maybe I'm off here because it's been a few years since I played it. But I feel like it's more of a set collection than trick-taking. Am I right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
More hand management, set collection, and a little bit of push your luck, if I remember correctly, too. Because doesn't the whole parade moves on, and if you wait too long, cards fall off the parade or something like that, and maybe I'm getting it confused with something else. But
confused with something else.
Well,
You're thinking of Thunder Road.
Maybe, but Parade is a good game. I really liked Parade. And then as far as what I'm gonna trade. Is there any question? I'm going to trade the co-op. Of course I'm going to trade the co-op. I looked into it, and the first things I read about this was it's a co-op, and there's not a whole lot of strategy because you're just guessing. And I'm like, why would I do this with my life? That is my life. I cooperatively have to work with my family and guess at what I'm doing. That's life. If I want to do that, I'll just live. I'd rather go, play something that requires a little more thought process or something. Did I just throw my whole family under the bus? Maybe I just threw myself under the bus.
For about the third time on this show. So
Love you guys.
Yeah, and you throw your family under the bus, you're actually throwing yourself under. Just so you're clear of that. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
No, Chris, I really thought you had my back on Unmatched. I was expecting Andy to be the one that was going to burn it. I mean, he literally insulted the game in front of the designer. Literally sat there and was like, "This game is garbage. Who in the world would play that?" And
I didn't say it was
there going, "Oh yeah, okay."
First of all, I didn't know it was the designer of the game. Second of all, I didn't say it was garbage. I think I just was kind of poo-pooing it a little. It's not that great.
Daniel, I usually give people a hard time when they come up with lists for these because I usually think they're terrible. But I think you did something. You found a list where Andy would put Unmatched at the top, and that takes a lot. So
I didn't put it at the top.
You said play.
Play doesn't mean I'm going to keep it. Shelf is always the top. Because shelf means you're going to play it again and again.
Yeah. Okay.
Shelf means you want to keep it forever. Play means you want. Well, you know what? We can debate that another day.
Yeah. We both had their pros, but back to you were saying I didn't support you. I wouldn't burn it. I just was like, if I have to let it go, I'm not that upset. But
sure,
if someone if you really want to pull it out and play, sure, I'll play. I'll take some more drinks from you. That's fine.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the Deadpool card that does that. But Unmatched is great. It's a quick 2-player game with different powers. Each character is so unique and so can stand on its own. It's a wonderful game. That's right. I love it. I have Genie and Houdini right now on my shelf, ready to be busted open to play.
All right. The love fest is over.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching us in this Play Shelf trade. Let us know what your Play Shelf trade is in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. We're just a small little YouTube channel, and we need every single little sub.
We're just a ma and pop operation.
That's
yes,
right.
sir.
And actually not being depressed. I'm literally losing my voice.
True.
Round
All
2.
right. Thanks, guys.
Fight.
Board game, believe it or not.
Welcome to another edition of Board Game, Believe It or Not, where we've made a few changes in the way this is run, where I'm going to host Board Game, Believe It or Not. I'm going to come up with all of the Believe It or Nots, and my fellow hosts are going to say whether they believe it or not. And if I fool them, if I fool 2 of them, I get a point. If they get it right, they get a point. So really, they have the advantage of me on this one, but I didn't trust any of them to do Believe It or Nots anymore. Daniel, did you have a question?
I was going to ask why I couldn't do it anymore.
That's why.
But you just answered
Daniel
it.
thought it was 2 truths and a lie. Andy thought it was geography, believe it or not.
2 lies and a truth.
And Chris thought it was minute detail, believe it or not. So we're not doing that. We're doing, all these are board games. I'm going to say a board game, the year it came out, a brief description, and it's up to you guys to decide if I made that up or if this was a real game. All right, is everybody ready? We're going to start with, we'll start around the board. We'll start with different people, different times. We'll start with Chris this time. Chris, are you ready, buddy?
I am ready.
All right.
Ready to win.
How about this one? Missionary Impossible. Came out in 1996. Be the first to overcome all your trials and complete 100 weeks of missionary service. The play is Milliborn style, as the cards represent weeks of service. You can put trial cards on your opponents to disrupt them. So you're a missionary in the mission field. Get the Missionary Impossible. Get the thing there. Chris, what do you think? Is this a real game? Believe it or not?
This one's a good one because the date matches up with Mission Impossible. Our Christian brethren make some really atrocious games, especially in the 90s.
Shocked you would say such a thing.
I'm gonna say it's real.
You're gonna say it's real? You believe it?
I believe it.
Chris is a believer.
I believe.
He's a believer. Daniel, what say you, buddy? I mean, Andy, what say you?
I think I'm on board too. I think it's actually a Mormon game.
A Mormon game.
Ooh, okay.
Did we say something about 2 years? Was the mission 2 years?
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Is that what you
Okay.
said, John?
I said 100 weeks.
No.
Well, that's like 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
approximately 2 years. Sure.
Yeah,
You
sure.
can get a 2-week vacation each year.
Um,
Daniel, what about you, buddy?
So yeah, I'm glad this is about Christian missions because when this first started, I thought this was going to turn rated R. So I appreciate that it went the direction it did.
We got that coming up
so
later.
I'm gonna say yeah, Chris was right. Christians can make some really bad board games, though. We've seen the light at the end of that tunnel. We've seen some really good ones come out recently, like Wisdom of Solomon and Deliverance, which is like a dungeon crawl. But yeah, from the 90s, yeah, it's I believe it. It sounds like a bad Christian game.
Wow, everybody believes it. Believe it or not, it's true. Yep.
Hey!
Good job, guys. You guys grand slam me on that one. Very good.
See, I thought
right.
about going false just to like play the game a little bit.
Sure.
I gotcha.
But John said that he didn't want
Have
me
a
to do
reason.
that.
Have a reason to, yes. I'd rather hear your truth. All right. We'll start with Andy on this one as we go around the board. Andy, this game is called In Love, and it came out in 2007. And this is the game people thought maybe Daniel was referring to when he was talking about how people should invite over some couples for, start your own game group. And people were getting the wrong idea. What do they want? Why do they want couples to come over? I think this is the game they had in mind. It's called In Love, where you ask questions, talk about yourself and your relationship. Answer questions in different categories like relationship, knowledge, and sensuality. Basically, it sounds like 2007. You can't be looking this up, Andy.
I'm not looking anything up.
Sounds like you are. Basically, it sounds to me like it's a romantic version of Cards Against Humanity. Daniel or Andy, what do you think, buddy? Believe it or not?
It sounds too believable, so I'm going to go false.
Ooh, Andy's going to go against his
Better judgment.
His own better judgment.
I
Daniel,
was
what do you
heading-
say as we go around?
Something
the board?
I do commonly, by the way.
Yeah.
I was heading towards false until you said it was like Cards Against Humanity. That's a seller for me because everybody's trying to make a clone for that. Not that I want to play it, but to think that it's true because everyone's trying to make a clone of that game. So yeah, throw in like love questions and sure, why not? Let's say true.
Okay, so Andy's a don't believe it. Daniel's a believe it. Chris, what do you say, buddy?
I gotta be honest, I was really distracted there for a minute because anytime that music pops on, I just immediately think of the good Dr. Reiner Knizia because that was the first time we used it, and so it always throws me off. So I'm going to go with the thought process that Daniel has here, but I don't think it's actually they're not trying to make a clone of Cards Against Humanity in 2007. What they're doing is making a clone of the travesty that has plagued our community ever since, which is called Apples to Apples. But it does track. It does make sense. Someone's trying to get on that bandwagon, make one about love because casuals are dumb. And yeah, I'll go with yes.
Because Cards Against Humanity wasn't even out yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure?
And Cards Against Humanity is just an iteration on Apples to Apples.
Sure.
So yeah.
But my kids might fight you if you say it's dumb in front of them. Just
What's that?
warning
Apples
you.
to apples.
Yeah.
I mean, bring it on. Have you seen me? I'll take it.
I would like to see Daniel's kids fight, Chris.
That would be fun.
Now
I'd like to
that's
see
a
that.
skirmish game.
Yes, it would be.
That's the T-Rex.
That's the
versus
T-Rex one, yep.
Raptors.
Yes.
So we had well, it's a true game. It's a real game. So yeah. Daniel and Chris, I almost got. Well, actually, that was my edition. Was saying that it's like Cards. Because that's what it sounded like to me. Was Cards Against Humanity only.
Oh.
So there you go.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. You got me some points. Or I mean, John, you got me points.
Hey, you're welcome.
I got your name wrong, just like you got my name
Yes,
wrong.
very good. All right, Daniel, we'll start with you this time, buddy.
You mean Andy?
No,
Okay.
stop it. Daniel?
Well done, Daniel.
Well done. How about Doorways to Horror from 1986? Introduces you to a new era of VCR fun and excitement. as you try to capture vampires, werewolves, zombies, and other menacing monsters. A roll of the dice lets you quickly color scan ahead on the videotape to your doorway of horror. Daniel, what do you think, buddy? Did Doorways to Horror really come out in 1986 as a VCR game?
So I'm going to look foolish or I'm going to look really wise. So we'll find out.
Okay.
I know a lot about these old games. I watch Flip the Table. Okay. It's a great old podcast. And I know all about these VCR games. I had never heard of that one. But, John, you used the word color scan. And that is actual technology from that time. You literally fast forward the video until you saw the red and then you hit stop. That was color scan technology. So because you use the word color scan, I'm gonna say it's true.
Okay. It's true. Daniel is a believer. Chris, what do you say, buddy, as we go around the board?
So, I mean, Daniel sold me on it. Again, I must admit I was distracted there for a moment because the moment you said a video horror game, immediately I went to like my heart just started pounding because I was like, oh, we're talking about Nightmare. One of my favorite games of all time. That game is awful, but man, is it great because of it. So, oh man, I love that game. Played it recently. But yeah, no, the color scan thing checks out, and there's a lot of games like that back then. So I'm gonna go with yes.
Okay, so we got two believers.
I love your Nightmare,
think, buddy.
All right, well, I'm gonna go false just so I can try and gain some ground.
Wow, that was a great reason.
It's a pure abstract strategy move.
It's an abstract strategy.
Just like abstract
move.
Just like abstract strategy games that
like Crocodile.
Because it was a real game. You should have believed it. So once again, Chris got it right.
That's right. See,
all right.
Andy tried to play the system.
I know.
And he failed. But if he would have just played his game like Chris always says,
use your heart,
he would have won.
Yep.
That's right.
What it was. Even with his fancy clothes on, he still didn't play the game correctly.
I wasn't true to myself.
There you go. All
right. Overcompensating for something with those clothes.
Might be. All right. How about this one?
Game-wise.
How about this one, guys? Space exploration came out in 1968. NASA trying to cash in on the science craze generated by the space race. In space exploration, everyone is playing as a different country as they attempt to provide a doorway to an exciting new tomorrow through the science of space travel. The countries, all the countries, the U.S. is the only real country. Everyone else is like the Association of European Souls or something like that. So they're just fake country names. So
they have the intellectual property.
So they're kind of pushing, the U.S. and the space race. So what do you guys think? Space exploration, is it real? Should you believe it or not? Chris, what do you say, buddy?
All I know is I'm using the what was it? The United
Association of European Souls.
Souls. Like I'm using that as an organization in some sort of role play game I use in the future. That was awesome. So I don't know. Like, the date seems too early. But oh man, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say I don't believe it.
It's fake.
Yeah.
This is a non-believer.
Non-believer.
Andy, what do you say, buddy?
I'm gonna say true. It sounds very possible, very plausible.
So we got a believer in science and a non-believer in science. Where do you stand on the science, Daniel?
John, you always go one little step too far, because I was like, I'm comfortable saying it's false, and then you say, but they made up nations like the European system of souls or whatever. And then you're like, wow, that's the kind of detail you would expect in a game like this. But I'm going to go with my initial response, because just like the moon landing, this game is false. I'm kidding.
So you're kidding about what?
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not that crazy
that I made that one up. So
normally he wears a tinfoil hat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
That's right.
The finest tinfoil hat.
So wait, you said false?
I said false.
Bam!
So there you go. Was it Chris and Daniel again? Is Andy the only one I keep fooling? All right.
I'm gonna be honest. I honestly was hoping to not get that right and it be real. And if it wasn't, I'd be like, right now, you look up what those other countries' names are.
I literally
must know.
That one I didn't even write that down. I just kind of came up with that on the spur. So I was like, wow, if that got it for him, that's great. All right. How about this one? We all love the ones that are based on TV shows. So how about this one called Columbo that came out in 1973?
Columbo game, yes.
It's a whodunit game featuring Columbo, sort of. To avoid paying Peter Falk any rewards, Columbo's face is never shown. You just kind of see him from the back. Real
Okay,
selling point.
Sure.
And it looks and sounds like a ripoff of Clue. And who are we starting with now? I think it's Andy this time. Andy, what do you think? Columbo, did it really come out in 1973?
1973. Yes, it did.
Okay. The short answer is yes. So
I love your explanations, Andy. I just put a lot of thought into this.
That just sounds like a good year for that
year.
It's a good year.
Was that the year you were born?
No. Might have been the year you were born.
He was
That
in
was
high
an
school
old
then.
joke.
Daniel, what do you say? Buddy?
I think the fact that they put that much effort into a game in the 70s that they try to make it even Clue and not just a Monopoly ripoff sounds very fake to me, because Clue is one step above Monopoly. So I'm going to say that this game is false because it's not Monopoly enough.
Okay. So we got to believe and a not believe. We got a tiebreaker here, Chris. What do you say, buddy?
Okay, so
Am I finally going to get a point?
I think the Columbo can't have been in the 70s. That show was way too good for the 70s. But like, is Columbo an intellectual property I didn't know about, and they were just making a story about him in the show in the 80s? Because that's a move they would done in the 80s where they're like, oh, we just won't actually use his face, so we don't have to pay the money. I'm gonna say it's not real.
You're saying fake?
Yeah, do not believe it.
It's a real game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah! I got one.
Really? So for real, is he is that like a character from like a book series they finally made into a movie show in the 80s? Because there's no way that show
That I don't know.
70s.
But no, well, the show first came on in the 70s.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there was TV movies in the 80s, but the show started in the 70s.
That show must have been like the greatest show of all time in the 70s.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, let's just do one more.
That game was later eclipsed by the Matlock game.
Matlock.
Which was even better.
That was a good joke. I like that.
Or maybe it was eclipsed by this one. Here we go. Let's do one more, and who's the turn to start with?
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, Daniel, here you go, buddy. Are you guys fans of the Archie series?
Archie
There was a game that came out in 1962 called Archie's Jalopy. It's a simple push your luck game where the goal is to get Archie to the dance with Veronica before his car breaks down. Everyone flips cards from the same deck on their turn. If you flip over too many mechanical issues on your turn, you have to start all over on your next turn. And other characters will come up like Mr. Weatherby and stuff like that, and Professor Flute Snoot, and they'll distract you from your goal.
Jughead.
What do you think? What do you think, Daniel? Does that sound like something plausible from 1962? Believe it or not.
Not for 1962, because that's a game I would play. I wouldn't play that game right now. So there's no way that came out in the 60s.
Daniel says no to Archie's Jalopy being a real game. What do you say, Chris?
I'm saying no also because the description was too good. And it just, there's no way. But that really does sound like it's pretty great. It does sound pretty fun.
So we have two non-believers. What do you think, Andy?
And although I'd love to gain some ground here by going against them, I'm going to have to agree. The mechanics just sound way too good for that year. And it does sound fun, though. I would love to know what kind of powers Jughead has and Reggie and Moose and all those guys.
Man, I've got to develop this game because I just made it up the other day. So that sounds good. You guys all got it right. Everybody gets a point by me on that one. Cool. Well, we'll wrap it up with that one because I don't want to take any more of a beating on this segment because I thought I had these good because my test audience were getting 50-50. I'm like, okay, 50-50 is about what you guys smoked those things. So
was your test audience board game podcasters like us?
No, they were not the board game experts. They were people that live under my roof. So but I thought they would know my tendencies of how I write and say things.
Sure, that makes sense. Your tells, right?
Yes. But anyway, so hey, everybody out there, what do you think? Did you like this round of board game Believe It or Not? Let us know in the comments below, or maybe if you have an oddball game you want to just share with us in the comments below, that'd be great too. So there we go.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Join your friends and gather round the table for a new epic role-playing adventure filled with dragons, treasure, untold perils, and what was I saying?
I had it written down here, but can't seem to find it. Wait, maybe I forgot to write it down. Oh, okay, well, yes, let's just take a listen to a real live game.
You enter the north gate of the village. You and your motley crew are tired and hungry from the long journey. Where are the Cheetos? Could someone grab me a Mountain Dew?
Let's stay focused on the gameplay. Now, where are my dice?
It's my turn. Did you hear about my elven cloak's defensive strength? No, it's my turn. You rolled a crit. Congratulations. I'm hungry still.
Would you quit fidgeting so much?
I have amnesia.
The game you and your friends will never stop talking about. ADHD&D. It's pretty much D&D. I think. I can't remember. Seriously, where are the Cheetos? All right, and we're back, and let's recap here halfway through the show. Bringing up the rear, that would be John with 3 points. I'm right there in the middle with 5, and then Daniel and Chris tied for 7, just because they know how to read John's tells better than I
Pretty
do.
much.
It's because we know board games, son.
Yeah, well.
Because I use my heart.
It's time to get back into it, though, gents. Wait.
Whoops. Knitsia.
It's time to, it's time to get back into it, gents.
It's game time.
You want to play games? All right, I'll play.
Shall we play a game?
Randy's the referee?
Oh, you mad, bro?
Back.
Round 3. Fight!
All right, it's time for a brand new segment called Hot or Not. We're going to talk about a game and debate whether we think it is as hot as everyone says it is or whether it is not. Here to give us a little introduction is a friend of mine.
Well, once there was joking and frivolity, now there is just anger. The Tea Party is entirely sane. The Red Queen speaks in whispers. The Jabberwock has escaped the poem, and Alice returns to find Wonderland a pale shadow of its former self. Each leader takes up arms to restore the Wonderland they loved. Some fight for eternal tea parties, some for the sake of fighting, others wish to remove all the heads, and one wishes for nothing more than a return to the perfect, illogical Wonderland that was. In Wonderland's War, each player takes on the role of a famous Wonderlandian, leading a faction to war to right the wrongs that have befallen Wonderland. The game is played over 3 rounds. During each round, there is a tea party phase and a war phase. During the tea party phase, the characters rush around the tea party, making preparations for battle. You will place supporters into the regions of Wonderland to gain a foothold, gather the support of other Wonderlandians, recruit allies in the forms of ally chips to your cause, and find magical forges that you can use to unlock your faction's unique abilities. In the war phase, the characters go to battle wherever they have placed their units and use the allies they have gathered during the tea party. During battle, you will draw ally chips from your battle bag and add their strength to the fight. The player with the highest strength will win the fight, earning victory awards and building a castle in that region. But beware, the tainted madness that escaped from the broken looking glass is spreading throughout the land. The longer you battle, the more chance your supporters will be corrupted by the evil madness and abandon your army.
Oh, that was a great explanation from Elton John.
Indeed.
I mean, you gotta admit, with the glasses and stuff.
Yeah,
and
good
the
point.
purple,
Good point.
The guy kind of looked like it. Mad Hatter, Elton John. I don't know.
Rocket Man himself.
That's right.
Well, let's talk about this game, guys. As per our new format, I will make a case for it first. Is it hot or is it not? It is hot, baby. It is so hot. I love Wonderland's War. I've played it 4 or 5 times now. What I like about it, there's so many things to like. There's variable player powers. You can play as Alice, the Mad Hatter, the Jabberwock, the Queen of Hearts. They all have unique powers. And the cool thing is you can choose which ones to unlock, and you're probably not going to unlock all of them. So each game is a little different. You can come up with different strategies, unlock certain powers out of that character, and have fun and play around with that. Other things you can do that are great. This is a bag builder, so kind of like Quacks of Quedlinburg or Orleans. It's got that element to it, which is kind of fun. The area control and battle aspect kind of brings me back to fond memories of, well, days before I knew real board games, and I played a lot of games like Risk, right? Kind of the dark days in some ways because I hadn't discovered the awesomeness that exists now. But nonetheless, it still gives me some warm fuzzies because I remember just really enjoying destroying friends and hurting feelings. And you definitely get to do that in this game. So it's a lot of fun. It also gives you a smaller thing to do when it's not your turn, and that is you can bet. You can bet on who's going to win battles because you may not be in that battle. You may not be in that region. And I really love the fact that you can forge different tokens. The tokens, every time you play, they're different powers. You can swap those up. A lot of variability in this game, a lot of replay value, a lot of fun. That's Wonderland's War. It is hot. What about you, John?
No,
me. How about we start with Daniel?
What about you, Daniel?
All right. Well, that was a great explanation, Andy. But I can't agree with you. I don't. I thought the game was fine. The game was fine. It was, but it was just an example of what our modern board games have kind of brought into the spectrum of being just so overly wrought. You said one of the most interesting things to you is like wagering when you weren't in the battle. That was the most like asinine thing in a game ever. It was like, oh yeah, hey, you're not going to play for the next 5 minutes. So like, just guess who's going to win. And, well, do I get something? Yeah. You get a chip of your choice. Well, didn't I just do that on the tea party phase? Like we literally spent 10 minutes like strategically deciding what chips we want to get. And wait, just because I guessed that you were going to win in a match, I now get a chip? The first time I played this game, literally the first round, I got more chips by wagering who was going to win the game than by actually playing the game, which means I actually didn't play the game for the first like 45 minutes of this game. So there is just a lot. And then the other takeaway from this game was the just the humorous nature of Andy explaining this game. It was very much like Cones of Dunshire, where it was like, okay, first you go around the table, then you get madness chips, then you place it on the pools of tears, then you pull the chips from your bag. Then if you pull a madness chip, you're going to lose people, but then you can move those people over here. And then you're just like, oh my gosh, how many and thens are there? I felt like the guy from Dude, Where's My Car and just wanted to punch the speaker when you were done talking. So yeah, is it great? In my opinion, no. I can see why people like it, but it's not for me.
All right, Daniel. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, the reason you don't appreciate the wagering is you don't play the game right. And I know you don't play the game right because you don't play other games right too. For instance, I hate to keep bringing it back up, but the game Revolution. It is a game of talking. So during the wagering phase, if you're not in the battle, it's your job then to egg people on, cause them to try and fight longer than they should, knowing full well that you're trying to manipulate them and maybe hope they fail. So you've got to add that whole aspect to the game. I mean, that's what makes this game a beautiful thing.
That's silly. And the second time I played it, actually, I was involved in every single battle. And I think that's the key, because if you get second place, you get half the points. So at least you get something. I don't think you're supposed to be out of the battle, but it was still a weird, like, compensation. It's still a weird thing. I don't think
so. You admit that the reason you sucked is because you were a pansy the first time.
Sure, if that makes you feel better, yes.
It makes me feel way better. John, what do you think of the game?
Well, first of all, I want to ask, have any of you read Alice in Wonderland?
No.
Yeah, it was not. What is that, a yes, Andy?
That's a yes.
Okay. Chris?
Me no read.
Because I didn't read it growing up, and I didn't read it in school. I read Jabberwocky. I used to know it by heart. The poem is pretty cool. But I don't know if you're a huge, is there fans of Alice in Wonderland? I don't know. Maybe there is, but they might not really appreciate this game as much as people like would appreciate, like Andy and maybe I do, as just like a tacked on theme, because really it's a tacked on theme. It's the Wonderlandians fighting. I don't know. Is that in Alice in Wonderland? It doesn't sound right to me, but the game itself, hot or not, I got to say it is certifiably hot. It is branded hot. It is a fun game. And yes, the betting, the wagering, really, that it should only come into play a lot, maybe the first round or a round and a half, because yeah, you should be getting involved in every battle and have it, like Daniel was saying, somebody might have more troops there than you or whatever, or more Wonderlandians. I'm sorry, these aren't soldiers. These are Wonderlandians. They might have more than there than you, but they have a different goal in mind. They're like, well, I'm just here to reach a forge spot so I can forge twice on this turn, or I'm just here because my end game thing says I need to stop here with a 1 and I'm going to get points. So you might be able to pass them up and take second. You didn't know you could. And then boom, all of a sudden you got 6 points that you didn't know you were going to get. So it pays to be in every battle. I think the first time I played, I had a structure in every segment. So I had won every segment at some point. And you have to be more involved in the battles. And I think maybe it's got a cute theme. That's why people like it. It's produced really well. I would rather it was just a straight up military theme myself. I think it would be so much cooler. But as it is hot. It's a fun game and it's a good time. You need to check it out if you haven't. Wonderland's War lives up to the hype, Andy. That's what I got for you.
Thank you, John. Well said. Well said. I usually don't applaud you in anything.
No, you do not.
Today, for you, this one time only.
Yeah, there you go.
When I win, I get boos, but when I'm in last place, I get cheers.
Yeah. Now, I'm ready for this because I can't wait to hear what's said next because old man Chris.
Didn't he already go?
He hasn't gone yet, and he's about ready to throw cold water all over this. So go for it, Chris. What do you got?
Yeah, the key, John, is just to have the same take as Andy, and then you get applauded. I like to be. I'm a truthful person. This is my life. I am an old man. All that kind of stuff. But I will admit, sometimes I add a little animation for fun. I don't really embellish things, but like you can tell that I'm, pushing it from 8 to 10 just for a little fun, right? I am not doing that in any way, shape, or form when I say that this is the biggest letdown of a game that I have heard hyped ever. I have never seen a game that people talk so highly that was so atrocious. This game was, the designers were like, hey, there's this thing called Kickstarter and you can make a lot of money. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pick a handful of different mechanics, throw it in a bowl, scoop it up, and because since we're here just to make money, we're just going to pick a IP from public domain so we don't have to pay anything, and then we're going to ship it. And that's, well, not actually, because it's Kickstarter, so it's going to wait like 15 years before it ships. But that's the plan. And that's what they did here. They're like, okay, cool. People like a rondelle. So we got Alice and Wonderland. Oh, there's the tea party. Okay, well, we'll have them go around a table. And what else? They're all and area control. That's a simple one. People like that. Cool. We'll throw that in there. And bag building. That's big now. People really like Quacks and stuff. So why don't we take a simple game like Quacks that's meant to be simple and like work, because even though it's random pulling from a bag, but it's simple, it's family, that'll work. Oh, but let's make it horribly complicated for no reason. Let's upgrade our chips like in Quacks, except instead of having some sort of agency over when you update, when you actually upgrade your chips, let's do it as a weird betting game that actually there's no odds at all. It doesn't matter. It's not like, the guy in last has 1 piece, the guy in first has 8 of them, so I'm going to bet on the guy with 1, and if I win, I'll get like 10 chips, right? No, I'm just going to pick the guy who has 8 because of numbers. And then the guy who does win, he's like, oh, sweet, I'm so excited about winning this. I'm going to get the prize of a castle in my spot. And that's going to do something special. Wait, what? It's just a victory point? It's just nothing. There's no added.
Two straight.
Oh, okay. But I can like put more. Oh, I can only just put 1 in each. There's just 1 for each one. I can't even customize that.
It's not just a victory point, Chris. It adds to your strength in the region. Okay.
Okay, and so that'll be helpful to get another one there, right?
No,
but you need to win battles there to get in-game goals. And you are absolutely incorrect, sir. You act like this is just a mishmash of mechanics thrown together with no thought process whatsoever. It's a
Absolutely
masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. What they have done is they have taken mechanics from great games. So they have taken the bag building or deck building aspect that originated with something like Dominion. They have taken the skirmish, the war type stuff from Risk, and then they combine it with the rondelle stuff from a game like Heaven and Ale, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's not, and people will say it's just an Ameritrash game. It's not an Ameritrash game. It's an Ameritrash meets Euro love fest. It's wonderful.
I gotta get Euro about
okay,
this
so
game.
People for real, like I led earlier talking about being real. I'm being real when I say Andy is lying more than I've ever met ever in this life. And this dude professionally lies.
No, I don't. I'm not an attorney.
Liar. He's not a liar. He's not a lawyer, but he professionally lies to people. And that's absolutely what he's doing here. There is no way Andy actually likes this game.
I do like the game. I actually do.
He knew the reason he doesn't like the game is because he knew in the first couple of turns, I was like he was explaining the game and I was just like, you're kidding, right? Like I didn't say that to him, but that was the look clearly on my face because I'm also like
it was very clear.
My emotions are on my sleeve. Like you know exactly how I feel. Like it's just how I am. I can't mask them. No. And so I guarantee I know because I know Andy. He was like, "Oh, Chris hates this game, so I'm going to love it." Just to
Nope. I played it 4 times before I ever played it with you, and I convinced you to play it because I loved it so much. And you know what? You cannot
because you hijacked Ryan's birthday.
I hijacked Ryan's birthday.
You absolutely did.
Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, sorry, Ryan. Happy birthday. I wanted a tea party. Listen, you can't blame the game on my poor explanation. I'm a terrible teacher. I fully admit that. I don't know how to teach games. I'm terrible at it. I hate doing it. I'm nervous when I do it because I'm like, oh no, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. You're judging it based on my teach. That was a good game. You have not even given it another chance. You played 2/3 of a game. Your opinion does not even count here, sir.
Wait, two things I want to say to Chris. First of all, I will agree with Chris. It is more complicated than it needs to be. I played it and then I had to relearn it to play it again, and there's a few too many steps in there, and some of they're not ergonomic. They don't make sense to you all the time. But I'd still say it's a hot game and it's a good game for a reason. Second thing, Chris. Really, compared to Wingspan, as much as you hated Wingspan with all the hype, you think this one pales to the hype more than Wingspan? I'm just curious.
Yeah, like. I didn't think it could have been, but and I'm really not being hyperbolic here. Like I was absolutely floored. I couldn't believe how much it was hyped and how bad it was. Like I told Daniel when I was playing it, I was like, I feel this is the epitome of everything I have a problem with this community, the board game community at this point. And Daniel hit on it earlier. Like it's they just put all the stuff in there, produced it big and loud, and used an IP to lure people in. Like it's just there's no. Again, I feel like people are just convincing themselves they're playing some nice art, and
it's not an intellectual property anymore. It's in the public domain.
Well, right, but it's the same draw. But again, that's the whole thing. They were like I said, they were like, well, let's pick one that's free too.
And you're not even talking about the fact that the artwork is just phenomenal. It's beautiful artwork.
Oh, it's beautiful.
The game looks gorgeous.
It does.
It is. It's a pretty game, but
there's no superfluous pieces, are there, Daniel?
No, none at all. Well, was that a reference to something I'm missing here?
What's that? Oh, when we played, you kept saying we wouldn't really need a piece for this, but here it is. I may as well have it.
Oh, yes. There are literally Wonderlandian standees is what they're called in the rule book, but they're not standees. They're miniatures. Yeah. And what does that miniature do? It says, I have 2 strength in this area. And now it's gone.
Well, they were standees in the base game. You're probably playing the Kickstarter.
Oh, I was playing the Kickstarter, but what's funny about that is it was Alice's power. It says, take a random standee.
Ah, yes.
How do I take a random miniature? Like, do I need to borrow your Mad Hatter's hat and throw them all in there and pick one out?
You know what they should call?
And then go through the deck of cards to figure out where that one is. And they all look the same. Humpty Dumpty looks just like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
That's true.
So all fat people look the same to you is what you're saying, basically.
H-shaped fat people, then yeah, that just have arms and legs and a body.
You know what they should call a random standee?
What?
A Randy.
with 2 E's.
Awesome. Yes.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed our review of the new hot game, Wonderlands War. Let us know in the comments below if you've played Wonderlands War and whether you think it is hot or not. And as always, don't forget to smash those like and subscribe buttons. We're going to head to our next round now.
Round 4? Fight!
All right, guys. So here we're going to talk about player interaction, games where the dichotomy of the games that people talk about is multiplayer solitaire, and then games where you're like actively interacting with each other or having some sort of conflict. Yeah, I don't know to say other than that's kind of what we're talking about here. I know it's been a long time. Things that people since the dawn of time of games have talked about. Back in the day in the forums on BGG, I know people would rant and rave about them all the time. So I think personally, I think there's kind of some place for both of them. But what do you think, Andy?
Well, I will take all of your time and I will add it to my time and have a mega turn. Oh, wait, Randy just took that away. By the way, I'm going to take a few seconds at the start of my turn here to Randy. I'm going to criticize Randy here. I made that joke about the random standee and calling it a Randy. He took a point away from me. I thought that would give me a point. What the crap, man? Anyway, so the topic is how much do you need interaction, I believe, right, in games, and how much conflict do you need? I feel like there's a fine balance. So I'm a pretty social person, as you probably get from the show. I'm pretty gregarious and outgoing. I like interaction. But believe it or not, I really like a lot of Euros that are very puzzly and don't necessarily require a lot of interaction. Now, I think they really hit their sweet spot when they do a little bit of both. And so, yeah, I don't want just pure negotiation interaction. I mean, there are times for that. There's games like Secret Hitler. There's those secret role games that if you're in the mood for that, that is fun. But I really do appreciate a good puzzle, a good Euro puzzle. But I like it when you're not so consumed by it that you can't pay attention to what other people are doing too, and therefore try and make moves that will potentially keep them from achieving their goals and doing what their engine's trying to do. So I like a little bit of play that you can you can play defensively, but there's also a lot to consume you and keep you going too. So that's just kind of my opinion overall. I like a little bit of a balance between the two. Daniel, what say you?
Well, actually, I was going to say something real quick there, Andy. Like, I know one thing, like a thing, like, mechanic or buzzword, I guess, supposedly that you would say that people use a lot in these situations is when there's the conflict is take that. Like, do you like so much conflict that it actually evolves into take that? Or is it just like you want to be involved and make some changes, but like you don't ever, or do you not want it to feel take that?
So here's a real honest answer. As much as I like to troll people, you would think I just love take that. I only like take that if it actually helps you win.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, yeah,
if it's take that just for the
like
sake of
Munchkin.
just
You like
making
it in
people
Munchkin.
mad, then yeah, that's stupid.
I would suppose I want to make the assumption that Andy only likes take that if he's the only one giving it. Like if it's not a take that game, and he's like, I can make this a take that game.
I like a give it game, not a take it game.
Take it game. All right, well, guys, so I'm kind of I refer to myself as an omni gamer. I really like the spectrum of games. We've talked about it a lot before. One of my favorite games is Gloomhaven. One of my favorite games is Marvel United, and one of my favorite games is Arc Nova. Like, I love the spectrum of heavy take that conflict games where you're just one person attacking another, and I also like these other Euro games that are largely what would be called multiplayer solitaire. But I want to throw another a wrench into this conversation. I actually hate the word multiplayer solitaire because I think very, very few games actually meet this criteria. Like, you might have some roll and rights that meet the criteria, maybe, but even the games that feel like multiplayer solitaire, they at least have like a goal that you are racing towards, that makes you care about what other people are doing. And some people say, well, that's just a cop out. No, that's not a cop out. That's part of the game. That is why what makes any single Euro game an interesting Euro game, is because there is always a race for something. Can I figure this thing out before my opponent does? And that is what makes these Euro games truly shine. I've been playing Ark Nova by myself a little bit, and it is not nearly as good. It's actually just not fun because there is no drive for competition, for trying to race that person to see if I can cross before they can cross. So yeah, while it's not take that, I can't say I'm just going to stick a knife in your back and I'm just going to take out your troops. It still requires me to know what was going on the table for this this game to be for me to do well in it. So yes, I think every single game has player interaction of some sort, and that sort is enough.
So Daniel, that actually, I think you bring up some great points there. And what you said got me thinking. So do we feel like take that is on one end of the spectrum, and then multiplayer solitaire is on the other end of the spectrum of these kind of like buzzwords we try to quantify the mechanics, when in reality, like most things in life, right, nothing's the extreme, right? It's some permutation in the middle, right? Like where most games are going to be, there is some solitaire to it, there is some player interaction, but it's only when it's on the true extremes you can say it. But in almost never there is those extremes.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only time you find those extremes are in some roll and write games where it's like 100 people and then it's just a race to get a point. But even then, it's still a race. It's still you need other people to be there with you. So yeah, I think multiplayer solitaire is kind of an illusionary concept that doesn't actually exist. Andy is muted.
I think it's ironic that in the same episode that Daniel says the moon landing didn't happen, he also says multiplayer solitaire doesn't exist. He's like the Wizard of Oz.
Believe it or not,
attention to that man behind the curtain. He doesn't exist.
I was trying to get a comment in, but I was muted. So if you were wondering what that was all about, didn't matter though.
Really wasn't wondering. Thank you, Andy. But but Daniel, actually, and this is kind of funny because if you haven't been watching all of our episodes, number one, why the heck haven't you been? But number two, we've been kind of going over these different terms like Ameritrash. What is Ameritrash? And what's one of the other ones we've done? Does anybody remember?
Euro?
No.
Yeah.
We've
Well,
done something. Anyway,
I don't remember.
we're trying.
sure. Yeah.
They've been scintillating. But anyway, this week's is this
When someone commits a Tysman?
No, that's not it. This has been this whole what is player interaction versus multiplayer solitaire. I've never understood the term multiplayer solitaire. And like Daniel was saying, there's very few games that would even come close to fitting in that category. And so I actually threw this up on an international board game site and asked people for examples of multiplayer solitaire. And I'm not getting any good responses because it's either, heavy Euros. Well, that's not a game. I've never gone to a store and said, can I buy heavy Euros, please? Where is it? Is it on the shelf? And so the specific examples are things like Wingspan. Wingspan is not multiplayer. If you have your own board, it doesn't make it multiplayer solitaire. I'm sorry. You're competing over these birds. You're competing over these different goals. You're fighting each other. Oh, he's got that many eggs and birds with this kind of nest. I get more so I can get the points. That's not solitaire. Another example is Ark Nova, and Daniel just blew that one out of the water. And I was thinking that too. I'm like, Ark Nova, no way. That's the competition is the whole thing on that. It's not only that, it drives the end of the game, like Daniel was saying, but not only that, it's also getting your guys in different spots before other people do, so you can get that action this round. There are very few, like I say, some roll and rights, maybe, but not Welcome to. I don't consider that one multiplayer solitaire either. You're paying attention to what everybody's doing. Oh, he's got 5 of those. Should I keep going for those, or should I do for something else? He's about to get that goal. I need to get it. As Andy has said before, I reject your premise. I reject your premise of multiplayer solitaire.
Well,
it does not exist in this universe.
So
perhaps in another universe, but not in this one.
You brought up the one game that I'm going to disagree with you on, though, John, and that is Welcome to. Because if you get a big enough player count in Welcome to, there is no way you're paying attention to what everybody else is doing. There's just no way to possibly do that. I think that's what you were alluding to, Daniel. If you get to a high player count in some of those games, it essentially becomes a little bit of that.
Yeah, possibly. But even in that one, you have the goals that you know if anybody's reached them or not.
Yeah, but what Andy is saying, if you have 15 people playing, like I can't tell if you're close to it or not. If you're the 8th person away from me.
True.
Well, if you're the 8th person, you're actually probably closer to me. But still, you know what I mean.
It starts to feel like bingo.
I've
Yeah.
never played at the maximum
Maybe.
99 or whatever there is for Welcome to, so I don't know.
So famously, like I am the person that, like, at least in our group, and I think we've somewhat alluded to here on the show, that like I'm the person that I don't worry about really what other people are doing. Like there are a few games where it's really important. I really am watching everyone else, but mostly I'm just playing my game. I figured out my strategy, and I'm just going with this game. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So maybe that's part of the reason that I don't care too much about the idea of multiplayer solitaire. I know I didn't really use my time earlier, but that's just whatever. But in the conversation, so I'm starting to think maybe Dominion is kind of the perfect example of multiplayer solitaire, somewhat, because it all depends on the cards you're using, right? Like if you're playing
The witch.
well, correct, but again, that's what I said, based on which card you're using. Like if you're using the original 8 or whatever it is that it tells you to play with, and granted, you're using militia, and that card is just the worst. But again, it all depends on what cards you got out there. Sometimes they're going to be more player interaction. Sometimes it's going to be more player solitaire. So unless you're playing cards that are truly attack cards, I mean, you are playing the definition of multiplayer solitaire. But maybe part of the reason that this has never bothered me too much is the idea that, at least for myself, I'm not usually watching other people. I'm just kind of doing my own thing, and if it works out, it works out. So maybe that's why it's never bothered me.
Yeah, but see, even in Dominion,
Chris.
sorry, let me say something. Even in Dominion, like when 3 stacks are gone, that's the end of the game. So you're still racing, and you got to know when to switch to victory points based on what everybody else is doing.
Daniel beat me to the point there. That's with Dominion. For instance, if you've got a good engine going, you can start getting the what is it? You've got the it's the duchies and the what's that? Provinces.
Yeah, and the duchies.
Yeah, if you start getting the provinces and the stack starts running out, I mean, you're in trouble, man. So I'm going to disagree with you about Dominion because I feel like it is a race. There's a race involved there.
Well, there's a reason why Dominion fits well into this category because as we've proven before, Dominion isn't really a game. It's just a mechanic. So rolling a dice by itself like a mechanic, yeah, that's a good solitaire thing you can do too, just like Dominion, just building your own little deck there. So
overall, I know this wasn't exactly what was asked, but I was thinking about it. I think for me, if I had to say what the perfect balance was, I would say 75% focusing on my game, 25% playing defensively.
Sure.
I don't think it's a 50-50 balance. I certainly don't want it more defensive, but 75-25. Give me just a little bit of an opportunity to try and see what somebody else is doing and have that be a part of my consideration as well.
Yeah, I like that too in a Euro game, but not in like a skirmish game.
No,
match. It's 100%.
Boom. Sure.
Well, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds like the perfect balance for a Euro game right there. Says,
well, in some, maybe I'm wrong here, but in some skirmish games, isn't it also partially about accomplishing goals like taking land and stuff like that? So that's
and when you play your cards and what you're holding back to surprise your opponent with. So yeah, you're right, but it should still be reversed, like 25% me, 75% interaction. But I still like it needs a little bit of both. For sure.
But anyways, guys, what do you think? Would you prefer multiplayer solitaire? Are you a person that really wants to be up in the conflict and really like to take that? Let us know in the comments.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Well, correct. As always.
All right. Well, so that's going to bring us to the end of the show. And it looks like we actually don't have a tie for once. Randy finally figured out how to give a point. You know, when he took that point away from Andy, I thought it was because he wanted another 3-way tie. So we got John with 8 points because of his believe it or not. We could just read everything.
Believe it or not, I'm in last.
Can't keep a secret from us. And then Chris, because he refused to participate in the last segment. And then me at 11, which I feel like I was robbed. But Andy finally gets his moment to shine. Let's see if he actually has something prepared today.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, I've thought about a few things I could talk about. There's so many great things and wonderful things that I could waste time with right now. I think what I'm going to go to is I'm going to talk about something that I want to know if you guys would be interested in this, and that is, what do you guys think about us trying to do some live stuff? I've recently been experimenting with Instagram and Twitch and TikTok and going live on some of these social medias. And I think I want to try and do that with our show a little bit. Obviously, we run the risk of flubs and whatnot, and we have to maybe watch ourselves a little bit more than usual. But I think it'd be really fun, and I want to see some of that interactivity going. So I'm excited about moving into that foray, and I don't want to go so far as to say we're about to become mega superstar influencers, but we're on our way, baby.
I'm not going to say we're not.
I'm not going to say we're not. Absolutely. So I want to encourage you guys to tell me what you think. Do you like that idea of interactivity? Do you want to be more involved live as the show's going on? If so, you can start by following our TikTok, following our Instagram. We haven't done as much with the Instagram. We're doing a lot with the TikTok and Reels and these different things. But what do you think? And tell us, what is your favorite medium for interacting live? Is it Twitch? Is it YouTube? Is it going to be TikTok?
Or
Love
Discord.
to hear from you. And I look forward to growing this and continuing to give away some cool prizes and just enjoy being a part of your lives and talking board game smack. So there you go.
That's right. You said give away prizes. We forgot to mention the contest that we have going on.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We better mention it.
Yeah, if you comment in episode 14, we're giving away a copy of Between Two Cities Essential Editions. Go back to episode 14 and give a comment and subscribe, and you can be entered in to win that game. So,
you can do it.
You can do it.
I kind of feel like my on the soapbox thing was very altruistic today, guys.
Very good. I got to say
something. It wasn't a hot take at all. I'm thinking that Andy doesn't actually have hot takes.
How about that?
I just wanted to be given back to the community.
You know, his last hot take is the reason we had to watch play Wonderlands War. So maybe, Chris, we should be glad he didn't talk about anything else.
You know what I
honestly thought he was just gonna rant and rave about Wonderlands War for another 2 minutes. And
I knew you thought I was gonna do that, but I didn't. I actually want to know the real. Here's how I would really know if I won today, and that would be: did I convince Randy to give this a try or not?
What's that?
Oh, did he? Wonderlands War. Does Randy want to play one? He just went to all zero. So I'm
going to all zero.
Is that a no? Is that a no, Randy?
My man.
Does not look
all
good.
right. Well, I think that's it.
Oh, he gave me a 1. That's right. He wants to play it. He wants to try it. All right, guys. Well, thank you to all of our wonderful viewers out there. Remember to tap those like and subscribe buttons. Also, be sure to join our Facebook group, Around the Board. Send us an email, mail@aroundtheboard.net. Reach out to all those social medias we were talking about. And until next time, we will see you around the board.
Don't forget to try to get this bad boy.
I gotta just show it again. Look at that. Look at that.
Get your demonic stuff out of my face.
I'm telling you, the game's really actually not at all. Neither was originally D&D, but anyways. And if you are looking for another game other than D&D now because of all the craziness, seriously check this game out.
And check out some other good games from Hasbro. Like... All right, we're here with Philip, and he's going to do a play shelf trade that we've done in the past, and it's one that is really agonizing him. What games did you pick, Philip?
Oh my gosh. So my choices are Blood Bowl, personal favorite of mine, as most of you know, First and Roll, which I've been dying to play forever, and Football Highlights, another great game which I own. Play shelf trade.
Yeah. That's the game.
We're gonna have to play Blood Bowl. I gotta play Blood Bowl. I gotta keep. I'm the commissioner of KCBBL. I can't not play Blood Bowl.
Okay.
But I will have to shelf First and Roll because I've never played it. But Football Highlights, I'd have to trade. It's a great game, but I think I'd probably get something good for it.
It's a great game, but is it a great football game?
Honestly, this is not the first time they've made a highlights year game. There's baseball highlights,
I'm aware.
which is a great game.
Yeah.
And then football highlights, in my opinion, equally great.
Okay.
It's just a different skin. So you could probably make, I don't know, tennis highlights 2032.
Maybe that's coming up next.
And that might be okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
So So I've played Football Highlights, haven't played First and Roll, so I got to shelf that so that in the future I can play it. So that's kind of the idea there.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
Blood Bowl, I have to play it. So good.
Let
Yeah.
the blood flow.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.